You're now listening to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. Straightforward, no nonsense business advice. Completely unfiltered. Grow your business. Grow your life. Now, here's your host, Brian Fullerton.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Well, welcome back to another episode of the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. We've got a really awesome guest on the show today. We got my man, John Reynolds here from STA-BIL. John, how you doing, brother?
Good, Brian. How are you?
I am doing good. So this is going to be a little bit different podcast. We're going to actually talk about STA-BIL. We're going to be talking about fuel, treating fuel, and just taking care of your equipment. Now, I'll tell you what, don't just zone off. Don't just turn this one off. I promise you, you're going to get way more than you thought and asked for in this one, because John and I were just catching up before we hit the shiny red record button on the podcast here. And he was teaching me some stuff that I didn't know about. I've been using STA-BIL for a decade. I've run my lawn and landscape business for more than a decade. But man, there's so many little intricacies that we're going to break down on this podcast and just unpackage. And so I'm really appreciative of you taking some time out of your calendar, John, to be with us. Why don't we do this really quick? Why don't you give everybody just like your vitals and your stats, and just kind of let everybody know who you are and maybe where you're coming from, if you don't mind.
Yeah, my name is John Reynolds. I have been with STA-BIL for 4 years. We're located out of Chicago, Illinois. We're just on the south side of Chicago, right near Midway Airport. STA-BIL's been around since 1958. Family-owned company. The two owners still come to work, and their dad was the one that started the company. I'm the channel account manager here, so I help the sales team with any requests they have, and I'm more so on the marketing side, so trying to communicate that education out to consumers about the benefits of using STA-BIL to protect the equipment that they love.
For sure. Well, dude, that's awesome. Well, I like I said, we get to know each other behind the scenes for just a quick minute here, and I've been working with the STA-BIL team for a few years, which is really cool, and we've got to know each other along the way, which is just really exciting. And I'm telling you what, like, this might be a little bit more of a dry subject as a topical, but when you really kind of get into it as owner operators and contractors, like, there's a lot of stuff that you need to know about keeping your equipment working and running and treating the fuel. I know you're a big fan and friend of Trent with SureCan Gas Can. We've had him on the podcast, and there's just so much that we're going to unpackage here. So before we get ahead of ourselves, we're going to hear from the announcements really quick, and then I'm really excited about diving deep with you for the next half hour, 45 minutes, an hour, and talking about some stuff that is really pertinent that can help people as they grow and run their lawn and landscape businesses.
Have you ever thought about starting your own lawn and landscaping business, but not sure where to start? Look no further than LawnTrepreneurAcademy.com, an e-training website dedicated to helping you start and grow a successful lawn care business. Save more time and make way more money by learning exactly what it takes to grow your business to the next level. Invest in your future by first investing in yourself. Use promo code PODCAST to save 10% on all training programs today at LawnTrepreneurAcademy.com. Now, back to the show.
All right, cool deal. So we're going to be, like I said, unpackaging a bunch of things with STA-BIL, because, when you think STA-BIL, at least to me, John, I think the red, good old fuel treatment, right? Everybody knows the iconic red fuel STA-BIL bottle, right? So there's such a history here. There's so much more than people really know. So we're going to start talking about all of that. But before we jump into it, we got to give a little bit of context and explain your background and how you even came into the position you're in right now, because you fill a pretty critical role with working with OPEs, working with contractors, working with getting the product out there. And so you're on the front lines hearing all the good stories, all the bad stories, all the, folks that treat their equipment, folks that don't treat their equipment. You get all the FAQs probably every single day about why do I need this product and everything like that. And by the way, this isn't going to be a STA-BIL pitch. This is going to be a conversation about how to help you guys keep your equipment running longer and the importance of maintenance, and that includes Stable. So we're not going to do a big Stable plug here, obviously, but John wanted to make himself available as a resource to help guys like myself and guys like you run a better business. So what's your origin story here? How did you get into this unique position? Because I don't remember seeing Stable brand marketer, on the career board back at high school during career day. You know what I mean? So
as a kid, I grew up with my dad working on mowers, chainsaws, the car, and every winter, it was always, or fall, I should say. He's like, "Hey, put this red stuff in the mower. We got to get ready for winter." And I wasn't thinking of it; it just kind of came habit. So started doing that. He taught me a lot of basically working hard, and if something's broke, fix it. So as a kid, started my own landscape company with a push mower and a trimmer. The equipment I got, I would fix up. People would throw it away, and 99% of the time, it was basically the carburetor was gummed up because the person didn't treat their fuel. So I would get that equipment running, and then I slowly kept working my way up to a riding lawnmower. Then I went to a residential zero turn, and then all the way up to the commercial. So I did that through high school. Then college came around. I was fortunate enough to go there. Really didn't know what I wanted to do in life. Started out as an engineer. That's what my dad was. So I figured out that wasn't for me, but I still like tinkering around with stuff. So I went undecided, and then I was like, hey, I have my own small little landscape business. Why don't I go into business? So
cool.
Went into finance, went into accounting, just wasn't for me. And then I went into business management and kind of fell in love with it because you get to see all aspects of a business. So then at senior year, I was like, oh no, I gotta find a job, gotta start applying. And I just, at that point, I was still figuring it out, didn't want to do insurance, wasn't interesting to me. So a light went off and said, hey, I'm working on all this equipment. Why don't I apply to a outdoor power equipment manufacturer? So got online, just started looking up companies, threw my resume out there. And long story short, got a entry-level job as an area manager for MTD, who makes Cub Cadet, Troy-built equipment. From there, they recommend STA-BIL. So that's kind of how I got involved with that, learning about the common questions that people get when you're out in stores or at small shows. And then 3 years later, wanted to make a career change, and a job popped up at STA-BIL. I took it and moved from Cincinnati, Ohio to Chicago. From there, first job was to basically be on the phone, so on the front line of all the questions, consumer questions that people would talk about. So from there, I learned more and more about what consumers were having issues with, what they liked, didn't like, that you were saying earlier. From there, then I went into the events, got to talk to people even more. And now I'm working with our sales team with different accounts, as well as our OEMs. So anything in the outdoor power, marine, and automotive section, I am trying to help best educate consumers out there to keep their equipment and basically having them continue their adventure in life with the equipment they're using.
Nice. So you've ran the gamut of learning the ins and outs of STA-BIL and all the benefits and all the questions and quite honestly everything you see that folks aren't doing, in the lawn and landscape industry, for example. You have such a large macro because you've worked in so many different positions. I know you were telling me, and so many different products now also available from them through STA-BIL and GoldenEagle, which is really, really cool. So we were spitballing some ideas before because you were asking me, what's some common questions or concerns, and I just was confiding in you. I was like, John, honestly, dude, nobody takes care of their equipment. Like 20% of people, you know what I mean? They think that when they go to the BP gas station, they get the Invigorate, the 89 that and it adds like something to it that it's all set. And that's actually really not the story. And people know to treat the 50-to-1 mix, right, for trimmers and blowers, for their two stroke, but that's actually not really what we're totally talking about. That aids, but that's not really what you and I are here to talk about, which is maintaining equipment and keeping equipment running stronger and longer. Now, the reason this is such an important topic, and I'm not going to make it overly important, but it is really important, is because everything we arguably use has a motor, has an engine, whether it's your truck, whether it's your trimmer, whether it's your blower, your chainsaws. And so here's the deal. It sounds like nerdy stuff. It just to be honest, it sounds like a dry topic, but it's actually fantastic conversation, because if those, you look at the expenses in your business and you look at the biggest problems for most owner operators, and that's usually my audience, John, is that it's breakdowns, it's downtime, right? Like you can control your fuel costs, you can control, your overhead costs. Labor is usually a big expense, but then after that, when you look at the profitability part of a pie graph of a business, something that sucks a lot of profit out of a business is downtime. And I would venture to say like 80% of all of our downtime issues are usually engine related, which is crazy. So I know it sounds kind of a narrow topic, but let's break this down, because you and I, we were emailing back and forth. I want to talk about the simple stuff, right? Because we don't have all the time in the world either on the podcast, so I want to make sure that we give some really good value here. But let's talk about some of the core talking points. We're talking about storing equipment, everyday fuel up and fill ups. We wanted to gloss over ethanol fuel and blended fuel and non-ethanol fuel, and just a couple different bullet points we were spitballing back and forth. So if you don't mind, I'm probably going to give you the mic on half of this, more than half of this podcast, because I want to know from the horse's mouth, if you will, what should we be doing? So let's talk with the basic thing. Now we're going into the spring here, so we're kind of coming out of storage, but I always tell people half of your equipment is going into storage, like your snow blowers and some of your snow related tractors and skid steers maybe. So let's talk about storing. Where does STA-BIL come into play, and why does somebody need STA-BIL, or a fuel, would you call it a fuel additive, I guess, right off the bat?
Yeah, fuel stabilizer.
Okay. So why does somebody need to stabilize their equipment? I mean, I put gas in the equipment. I put two-stroke oil in there. Shouldn't it be good to go?
No. So basically, by the time the fuel gets from the refinery to your gas can or the equipment when you're filling up, it could be more than 30 days. So as fuel began to change a few years ago, gas will start to break down after 30 days. So it's important for you to treat that fuel so it doesn't start breaking down. Otherwise, it'll have effects on your equipment. So when you're at the, right before you store your equipment, you're going to want to add a fuel stabilizer. We recommend to do that with a full tank of fuel. Run it a couple minutes, and then that way that stabilizer will get to the entire fuel system. And by filling the tank up all the way, it'll eliminate the amount of moisture and oxygen that gets into the fuel tank. So that way, when you do want to come out of storage, you can it'll fire right up, and you'll be able to go to work without any breakdowns, I should say.
Okay. Well, I mean, like I said, I've always known to use the red bottle, even back when I got my business started more than a decade ago, What about when it comes to like everyday fill up? I know there's some products that you guys offer that can fill that role, but is it something you need to do every single day? I'm asking sincerely. We don't. This isn't sponsored content. There's no ulterior motive. Just so anybody knows, we're just open mic forum. John wanted to make himself available, so this is me asking selfishly. Is there anything we need to do every single day while I got you officially?
Yeah. So we recommend for an everyday fill up, we have our 360 protection. It is a ethanol treatment as well, so that kind of goes into the using ethanol blended fuels. It's got fuel system cleaners in it as well. So when you fill up your gas tanks, you just throw a little in, or if you're filling directly up your equipment, That fuel will be protected for a year. Just in case you set it down, you might forget to add the storage, which is 2 years. You'll still be good, and you don't have to worry about like, oh shoot, did I add stable to that equipment or gas can or not? We recommend to add it to the gas cans every time then, because then when you do fill up your equipment, that equipment's already treated, so it's saving you time. You don't have to go back and be like, oh, I need to add stable to my leaf blower, my trimmer, my walk behind leaf blower, mower, chainsaw. So save time. The fuel system additives will help clear that system and keep you moving. And yeah.
Well, we were talking about how, from what I understand about stable, it could prevent, gumming and varnishing and rusting of equipment. You guys have a couple different products out there that we've done some content on YouTube, and we really do use the product. Like that's why I had no problem, creating some sponsored content for YouTube. It's one of those things too where you guys have partnered up with SureCan and a lot of other companies as well, and we've had Trent on the podcast, and we're talking about what's the saying? It's like treat the fuel, fill the can, feed the machine, or something like that. Is that the new? Is that what we're working with here?
Yeah. So fill the can, treat the fuel, feed your machine. So a simple 3-step process to protect your equipment that you're using.
Sure.
So providing that education to the consumer, where it's like, hey, why is my mower running rough, or why won't it start? Basically, a cheap insurance is to add a little stable, and then you're protected when you need to use that piece of equipment.
Okay. Well, can you go down the rabbit hole for a second? Because I know you were asking me like, how technical do you want to get? And I'm like, well, honestly, dude, you can do whatever you want to do. But what happens when you don't use a fuel stabilizer? I know those buzzwords like varnishing, right, or gumming up. What does it mean? Why is our fuel like dirty? Is it not? I know I'm sounding really layman's here, but is it not optimized for the engines we're running, or what's going on with the supply chain? I mean, why is this such an important talking point?
Yeah, so most fuel nowadays will have ethanol. Some fuel stations will say it, some won't. Essentially, ethanol will draw moisture into the fuel tank, and then that moisture will build up and will go to the bottom. So that water sitting on the bottom goes to the lowest part, and that's where the reacts with the metal. So you get the rust, corrosion, that buildup. So by using stable, it will help prevent that. You can use stable and non-ethanol fuel as well. There's still benefits to do it, but it's basically adding that little bit of protection to help prevent those issues.
Gotcha. So it's one of those, what do they say, like an ounce of prevention beats a pound of cure, or something like that. So that's really interesting. So what have you guys seen out there that most contractors are benefiting from the most from stable, or treating their fuel? Do you see a lot of folks kind of just missing this step, or why do you think that some folks don't even know to treat their fuel traditionally?
I think some people just don't realize that they have to do that. I think too, a lot of it has to do with when you're growing up. I learned a lot from my dad, so if that wasn't passed down, you might know about it. If you're a first-time home buyer, you got a house, always previously lived in an apartment,
sure,
or something like that, you get a lawnmower, fire it up, and then the next time you use it, it's running rough, and you're like, well, this is new, it should work. And then they're going to the retailer saying, hey, this doesn't work. I want a new one. So it's trying to prevent those issues to make sure that person can mow their yard, make their edge the driveway, that kind of stuff, remove the snow. So
that's interesting. Yeah. Well, it's funny because it always goes back to those dang millennials, right? I'm just kidding. They when you start you buy your first home and you buy a little chainsaw, and there's been such a adoption from the younger audience, I feel, with battery, which is a whole nother conversation for a whole nother time. But for those of folks that, like you said, they come out of city life or urban life. I mean, you live in Chicago, And I bet, probably half of your friend group, doesn't even know, like you said, you guys don't even have a lawn there, right? Because you have a apartment life that you're living in and enjoying the bachelor life, right? But it's one of those things too that if it's not, like you said, if your dad didn't tell you, or your uncle or grandpa didn't say, hey, go get that bottle of Stable and we're gonna take care of the John Deere tractor and winterize it. If you didn't kind of have those conversations, you wouldn't even know to add that stuff. And I'll tell you, it does make a pretty dramatic difference when you try to start equipment in the spring when you have bad gas versus when you have fuel additive like a Stable added to that piece of equipment, right? Really weird little FAQ I'm sure you get, but and I'm just showing my cards here. But do you find more benefit of folks adding it to the gas tank, or do you mix it in the gas can beforehand? Like, what's your take? Because my attitude is always add it to the tank and then add it to the equipment. And then I guess one other question I got that probably piggybacks is, do you let everything run dry, or are you more in the camp, in your opinion, of leaving things 90% filled up, so there's like you were talking about, water and moisture and condensation can't form inside the tank, and then you hit that primer bulb, and that's the first thing that tries to fire up, and we like you said, we mess up the internals. So what's your opinion on that timeline of adding something like a Stable to your fuel?
Yeah, so I always add it to the gas tank, or the gas cans, I should say, or if you got a shirt can, add it there, and then if you don't use that fuel for a while, you're good. And then if you're going to treat your 2-cycle equipment, your mower, it's basically you don't have to treat each piece of equipment. It's already treated once you get that gas from the gas station and then add the Stable. Draining the fuel tank, there's a lot of questions about that. People think that's the best way to go, but when you do drain it all the way, you expose that inside of the tank to moisture, and then if you don't get all the fuel out of the carburetor, you think all the fuel is gone, but it's not. So that's when that gum and varnish will start accumulating. So if you do the next season, try to fire it up, that carburetor is already filled up because there's still fuel in that, but you might not realize, or you think there's no fuel in the tank. So
okay,
it's always best to keep that full to avoid that issue. Another thing too, then, when you do drain the tank, you might not know what to do with the fuel. Some people might dump it or what, but then you're not wasting it. You can use that fuel for next season.
Interesting. Okay. Well, let me ask you this: what's some of the and it sounds like an overly large Stable plug. It is, but it's not. It's not designed to be. We're just trying to cut the rug and cut the mustard with you guys. But help me out with our industry, right? We're a little bit more niche specific. We're contractors, maybe some homeowners listen to this. Weekend warrior guys. What's some of the stuff that would benefit us the most? Because I know the red Stable, right? But is that the only thing we should be using? I'm a big preventative maintenance guy in my life. Like I always am I'm always thinking preventative maintenance and thinking a couple of chess moves ahead. And then that totally encompasses my equipment. So, are we just throwing a couple ounces of Stable in our gas cans and we're done? Or, I know you guys have, maybe a loaded question here, but like the rust stopper, there's the fogger. Maybe people know Stable, but what about those other two products? Those seem to be the little holy trinity I keep noticing with anytime I talk to you.
Yeah, so for the storage theme, we have fogging oil, so that you can fog any of your engines. You can spray directly into the air intake when the machine's running, and then you can also take out the spark plug, fire that in. We see that a lot on generators because you might not use it a lot, but you want to have it start when you need it. And then rust stopper will prevent rust. Will stop it in its tracks or prevent it from happening. So trailer hitches, wheel wells, any points on your zero turns that might accumulate grass, clear that out, spray that on to help protect that. You can use it on the bottom of the deck. Pretty much anything that's metal to help have that equipment last longer.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Well, I know we always take the spark plugs out and we're using the fogging oil. Like I said, every little bit helps. And the reason I say that is because a lot of my equipment is exposed to the elements. Like it's in an enclosed trailer, but it's still out there in the minus 10-degree weather. And that's just anybody who grows up in the Midwest, and you're in Illinois, you know how it goes. You get the brutal snow, the brutal moisture, the brutal weather, and that's something that's just a selfish question. I'm going through like my little notepad here on my phone. I got all these like selfish questions I keep asking you because there's so much. I'll be honest with you, misinformation out there. What's some other things that you keep coming up against as when you were working the phones? Anything that you got off the top of your mind that you see folks not doing or could do better with regards to keeping their equipment stored correctly?
Yeah, a lot of some questions we'll get. Well, if I didn't use STA-BIL, how can I get is there a product that you have that you can get it running? We have one that's called Start Your Engines.
Oh, okay.
It's liquid ether based, so you can spray that directly into the fuel tank. Essentially, that will go to the bottom and will create the ignitability, and it'll fire the engine up, and it'll also clean out that fuel system if you forgot to use STA-BIL. And it's dual action, so not only can you spray it into the tank, if you get the engine running a little bit, you can also spray it into the air intake to get additional cleaning. So it's
is that like a starter fluid or essentially
similar, but it's more. Yeah, it's a little more heavy duty than just starting fluid. It's got some other cleaning, added cleaners in it to help basically clean that fuel system out.
Nice. And what's the name of it again?
STA-BIL Start Your Engine.
STA-BIL Start Your Engine. Okay, you can keep going. I was just curious. I wanted to make sure we got that so I can go buy a couple cans next time I'm at the auto store.
Yeah, my back in Cincinnati, I had a neighbor that had an old John Deere leaf blower, and they're like, "This thing won't start." So what I did was I took it, undid the gas cap, sprayed Start Your Engines in, let it sit about 5 to 10, 15 minutes. Pull it a couple times, let it sit so that Start Your Engines liquid will get into the carburetor, and then 15 minutes later, it just fired right up. And she was like, "Whoa, how'd you do that?" And I'm like, "This is easy product." And then I was like, "Hey, by the way, start using STA-BIL so you can use your leaf blower in the fall."
I love it. That's really cool. Anything else new that you got coming out that you think would be pertainable to us? I know we're making this up as we go, but I wanted to make sure I gave you an open mic if there's anything else that you think is always helpful to the contractor out there,
Yeah, so STA-BIL, like we said earlier, has been around for 60 years. Originally, the red storage was the original product. It's pretty much fuel related. STA-BIL has been looking at different ways to add value to the consumer out there that wants to work on their engines, keep it going. So we have products that are outside the engine. Like you mentioned earlier, we got the rust stopper. We have a battery maintainer. We have starting fluid. We have a bunch of different things out there. We are going to be coming out with some new products. Can't mention that now, but just be on the lookout, and we're excited for the future.
Nice. Well, I want to do this. I want to talk about something that we alluded to in the at the beginning, which is a partnership that you guys are tag teaming in 2020 with SureCan Gas Can. Everybody knows Trent and those guys, and I think there's going to be a really cool opportunity and partnership together for you guys that can really also benefit us, the end user, right? And so let's break that down here. Let's take a quick break. We'll hear from the announcements, and we'll keep this fun conversation going.
Enjoying today's show? Motivated to take your lawn care and landscaping business to the next level? Learn what it takes to grow your lawn and landscaping business today with training and education from the Lawntrepreneur Academy. Get educated with how-tos on mulch installation, plowing snow, aeration and overseeding, and so much more. These training programs are designed to help you save time and make more money with your business. Invest in your future by first investing in yourself. Use promo code PODCAST to save 10% on all courses today at LawnTrepreneurAcademy.com. STA-BIL.com. Now, back to the show.
All right, cool. So you and Trent talk all the time, and I only know that because I talk to you, and then I talk to Trent, and then you guys both tell me you guys talk all the time. So I don't have ESPN, you know what I mean? So tell me more about this partnership that you guys got going on in 2020 and how it's going to benefit the lawn care landscaper and just bring more awareness, I guess, to what you guys got going on.
Yeah, so we partnered up trying to continue to educate consumers, contractors about treating their fuel, making sure their equipment keeps running, whether it's from your snow blower to your mower to your generator, basically treating that fuel so you don't have any issues. You'll start seeing more things in store, whether it's a rebate or something that is helping communicate that messaging to that consumer. We also have a website that you can go to. It's surecanusa.com/stable. There's going to be blogs, some videos that we're doing, questions that we may get. We're going to keep putting all that information so it can just continue to educate that consumer, whether it's someone starting out, a landscape company, if maintaining your home, any point in their life that they'll be able to, if you love small engines, that they can keep working on them and using them when they need it.
Dude, that's awesome, man. Well, I like I said, I think the biggest part of running a lawn landscape business that always gets glossed over is like the education side, which, you know, heck, we're doing a podcast trying to educate people. So we're kind of preaching to the choir. But there's so many times when I'm like, you know, dude, late night, 10, 11 o'clock at night, I get home and it's just funny because I'm like, you know, I do some YouTube videos and then I'm jumping on Yard Book to do like some billing, right? And then I find myself quickly jumping back right into lawn care. It's so weird. Like I'm on YouTube and I'm watching videos, or I'm watching Facebook videos, or I'm on Facebook blogs and forums, right? And in different groups. And so I really do look forward to a lot of that stuff. And I know Sure Can't. In fact, you sound just like Trent. Like your voice is pretty indistinguishable from his on the podcast. So I'm probably that's probably why you guys both get along. You guys probably both like hearing yourself talk, like I do, right? No, I'm just kidding. So that's cool that you guys are putting that together. Now let me ask you this: where can folks find STA-BIL? I mean, obviously we get it at the automotive stores and the big box stores, but I know you guys are, especially you, because you're in charge of a lot of this, and the team that you're on and you work with. Folks like you are always available at different trade shows, and I know you guys are at different green industry shows. Share with me a little bit more, if you want, about like how you guys market and where people can find you and have these kind of conversations, because I think they're really critical.
Yeah, so pretty much, like you said, any automotive store is going to carry STA-BIL products. We're also in the home improvement stores, so your Lowe's, Home Depots, Menards, Tractor Supplies, as well as Ace Hardware. Pretty much anywhere you can think of that you probably shop now. We're also in a bunch of marinas and dealers as well. So for being a brand that's been family owned since 1958. For STA-BIL to be around that long, that you can pretty much find it anywhere.
Right. Well, that's really cool. Well, I selfishly, when I'm at GIE, I always take a trip over to the STA-BIL booth because it's always like just shiny. There's so many different things there. So I'm always picking up cans, and you guys always have a lot of like visual demos. You know what I mean? With you know, this was treated, this wasn't treated. This is your lungs when you smoke cigarettes. This is your lungs when you don't smoke cigarettes. You know, one of those. No, I'm just having fun. But no, that's really cool, man. Well, let me just give you open mic. Is there anything that you feel is a priority that folks should stem from STA-BIL and from this conversation? Because like I said, I don't want this to naturally be like a huge STA-BIL plug. You know, it's just what you do. And there's nothing wrong with that either, by the way, because you guys make a great product. But I don't want folks to think that we're just trying to sell Stable here. The idea was to have you be a resource to the community. And again, like downtime is a real issue, and taking care of your equipment, it's a real issue. I had Alex Nickens on as a guest, and he talked about being mechanically inclined, and so this stuff kind of like all is correlating to each other. And it's one of those things that I wanted to make sure that we gave it the time of day while I got you as a resource, because you and I talk on the back end and we email a lot, and so I wanted to again present you and make you available to the community. So what's some other things that you think folks might be missing, or anything off topic that you wanted to add while I got you? Because I want to make sure that you get the time of day to share some stuff that you think could help folks, in my situation.
Yeah, we're always here to help. You can give us a call. If you ever have questions, go on Facebook, Instagram. We're here to help answer questions. I know fuel additives and preventative maintenance items aren't the most, like you said, the most interesting to talk about, but there are those common questions where we would love to help you with your issue, keep you, whatever you're doing, whether you're power washing or getting your yard ready for spring or cleaning it up for fall. We're here. We have a great team here. We're always there to help. So, just give us a holler, and we would definitely get back to you.
I like it. Well, I guess the only way to make Stable more sexy is just come out with the calendar, right? So, so I don't know when that one's coming out. We just started the new year, so when I get mine, you guys can get yours, right? No, I'm just having fun, but I'm sure you'll be right on the front page, right, Mr. February, right? So,
yeah. I'll let you know when that happens.
yeah, right. Well, this is funny. I would just love cutting up and having a good time. Well, dude, I appreciate your time. I know this is kind of a short and sweet one, but probably only so much you can really talk about. But at the same point, I know you guys appreciate our business and everybody out there that uses the product. And there's a reason I talk about certain things on YouTube, and there's a reason I don't talk about certain things. And we use Stable from day one, and I can always say that. I can just be proud of that, and I know because I know that because I'm not super mechanically inclined, I wanted to be preventative maintenance. I wanted to make sure that I was buying as much time out of my equipment before they did break down, right? And so I've always been militant, on making sure that we treat our equipment, and when we're not using certain things, we're putting some Stable in there. In fact, we had a snowstorm the first week of November up here, John. I don't know if you guys got that same massive system that went through, but we got like 10 inches of snow out of nowhere the first week of November, and which was very uncanny for Michigan. And, we ripped out the little Toro snow blowers, and we did our deal and did our plow run and the whole deal. Well, when I got back, after about 2 days, I was kind of like thinking to myself, there's not likely of a chance that we're going to get much snow by the end of November. We don't usually get snow in November in Michigan. December, it's wide open. It's a wild card. That's kind of when the season starts, right? So I thought to myself, well, you know what? Like, it might be a good idea just to take an ounce and just drip a little bit into the the fuel tank of the Toro, because the snowblower, and I wasn't like winterizing it, if you will, or summarizing it. I don't know if that's a word yet. But I just was like, you know what? I'm going to take just a little bit of preventative maintenance and make sure that the next time I start this snowblower in 3 or 4 weeks, and it was actually like 5 weeks later, we got our next snow event, that it starts up, because for crying out loud, I'm going to need my snowblower, right? And so it's one of those things. You get a bottle for, I don't know, $5, $7, $8, $10. It's I give them I literally pass them out like a drug dealer, like I'm handing out Skittles. I'm like, hey, first one's free. Every time I go to an AutoZone or a Murray's or whatever, those corner auto stores like you were talking about, I always get at least 2. Anything I do in life, I always grab 2, because I hate sharing. So, but so my friend Mike Bedell and other friends, anytime I see them, like, hey dude, are you winterizing your stuff? Like, oh crap, I need to do that like next week. Like, man, I don't have any Stable. I need to go get some. I'm like, hey, I got you. I always have like 3 or 4 bottles just rolling around the the backseat of the truck. So any which way, I appreciate your time, man. I really do. I know, like you said, you guys have been here for a while, and you guys are going to continue to be. So if there's anything that I can ever do for you guys, you got my email. Let's of course keep in touch. You know that. But if anybody has questions, I want to make sure that they know that they can reach out to you guys on whether it's Facebook or email or just on the website. I think you can buy all the products on the website too, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right? So you shouldn't.
Just go to stable.com.
There you go. Well, cool deal. All right, man. Well, cool. Well, guys, that's it. We're going to wrap this one up. Appreciate you guys listening to another episode of Fullerton Unfiltered, and a little bit different kind of a content here. Just something that I wanted to interject in through all the different interviews so we don't get burned out on just interviewing other business owners and always talking business. Sometimes we got to, actually deal with the X's and O's of running our business. And STA-BIL is another cornerstone and foundational little pillar to how I run my business on the back end when it talks about relates to keeping my equipment maintained, running correctly, and making sure things fire up on that first attempt and not have to take them in for costly repairs. So John, appreciate the time, brother. We'll look forward to catching up with you on the next podcast.
Sounds good. Thank you very much. Have a good spring.
All right, guys, we'll see ya.
Thanks for taking the time to listen to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast with Brian Fullerton. We hope you enjoyed this production. If so, please consider leaving us a 5-star review for the show. While the techniques and ideas presented here are designed to help you grow a more successful and profitable business, no one can guarantee these results for you. We want to emphasize that entrepreneurship is not easy, and the ideas presented here are just the opinions of Brian Fullerton and his respective guests. No one can guarantee success for you. That being said, we hope the ideas presented here help you and motivate you to go on out there and crush it with your own business.
Fullerton Unfiltered Podcast.
Thanks for listening, and we hope to see you on the next episode.